So basically, I'd like to introduce Miss Jenn Pilotti, and she is a movement education specialist, and she is coming to our fall summit with we are so grateful for you to come to be helping us in this beautiful fall summit for every human being, most especially the women beings of the world that are thriving in perimenopause and beyond and would like to increase their movement. So I know that in our discussions, you had so many wonderful things to comprehend and to support that we want to cover in this interview. So I'd like to remind us that we're going to be listening to how you develop patterns to learn new things, how in the work that you do, you support humans learning the comprehension of strategies, and these strategies which lead to obviously methodology as well about new learning. So how in movement education and the brain, because this is completely correlated, how these concepts of strategies become methodology that support us in learning new things in perimenopause and beyond. And then really kind of the third kind of concept that we're really going to overview here with Miss Jenn is we are going to be understanding how this growth can be used within changes for development and support. So how to use this growth and this development within all the changes that are occurring. And then I have three really amazing questions that I'm going to ask you at the end that I can't wait to share with till the end. But so, Jenn, please, will you just introduce yourself just a little bit more in your own words? That would be really great.
Yes. So as Anne said, my name is Jenn. I have been in this industry since 2001, full-time since 2002. So I've worked with so many people. And you know what's been actually one of the most interesting aspects of my work is I've had some of my clients for 20 years.
Oh,
so I have watched them go through actually perimenopause to postmenopause, and now some of them in their mid to late 70s. It's just a really rewarding, interesting aspect to what I've done over the years. I'm really interested in how we learn and what keeps people motivated and continuing to move throughout their lifespan, because we move until we die, which I just think is the most fascinating thing. Yeah. And we can be curious about movement until we die, which I think that's so cool. So anyway, that is who I am.
I love it. It's an adventure in curiosity, which is always going to lead to greater discovery, right? And then this little discovery adds on this next one. And then it just, instead of like even just this lifting, because that can topple over, it's kind of this outward expansion. So it's this casting out, right? This casting and gathering and casting and gathering. And there can be little pockets and sections. And as I looked and learned more about you, Jenn, I think some of the things that really seem from my perspective of you to inspire you and motivate you. I'm just so thrilled. I'm so thrilled to be talking with you. So again, thank you for being here today and bringing this unquenchable discovery in movement and how we can continue to learn through all ages for this aspect. So that's really great. So I'd love to move into that concept of our time here together today in learning what are some of the ways that you feel you help people, or what are the patterns that you see in developing new pathways for learning or taking new learning. Can you explain some of the patterns that you see?
Yes. And I'm a total nerd when it comes to movement science, or to learning science, I should say, and motor learning science. But basically, when you first learn something, regardless of what it is, you're not good at it. And this is a really interesting thing for people, and it can make people very, very frustrated. Mm-hmm. So one of my jobs, I feel, is to make things kind of bite-sized, so that people have an opportunity to go, okay, I can sort of start to get that, and it's not too overwhelming. Because when people get overwhelmed, they stop. So the goal is to not make it too overwhelming. And then the goal for the person on the other end, the person who is receiving the information that they're trying out, is to not be too judgmental. There's this idea, I don't know where it comes from, but this idea that we should be able to do everything perfectly the first time. Right. And then we
Right.
get frustrated when that doesn't happen. So for the person to be able to step back and be like, okay, this is, even though this is exercise or movement or something I should know how to do, I can step back and take this and go, okay, well, maybe this is new to me. And I can just observe my process through it and observe how I experience it.
Love it. Love it.
And that, I think, is what helps inspire kind of the curiosity to keep going.
Right.
Because once you start to understand how this one little piece works, you're like, okay, well, what comes next?
Right.
You know?
And it's like this intrinsic value that we place upon, like, oh, I get it. And I got it the first time. So if you break it down to these palatable, not mini, but miniature aspects towards the whole, then we get to be feeling more expert, learned in these areas. And before we know it, we've built this kind of platform of understanding, so that from this platform, we have a greater foundation. And from the foundation, then we can develop these new bits. So I just love it. I just love the fact that you're, and that I came to immediately, like, food. It's these bits of food that are just so delicious and delectable. And you just want to know, what's the next part of the food coming at me? I love that. I absolutely adore that. So you've definitely got all of my attention for learning, because you're bite-sized and yummy. And that's fantastic. That's the best way to go.
Awesome. I like that. That's a great way to think about it.
Bite-sized and yummy nutrition for your learning. I absolutely love that. Fantastic. All right. So we've really started to understand you love to help people learn new things. And you, of course, bring that because you are a person who is unquenchable for new things. And you've recognized that people will become overwhelmed quite quickly. And that's definitely part of our cognitive executive management, that's just it. And then as we age, add the differences in our hormones, how our brains are changing, how our body's responding to those changes. It's not that you're all of a sudden going to be less coordinated to do something. That's not the case. It's just that your mind might not time things in the way that you would like for it to occur. So finding little steps and pathways to support that timing is, it seems to me, part of what you help to like deconstruct and cast out, and then put them slowly to find their ways back together to make a bit of a bigger build. So that's what I took from understanding a little bit more from you. And maybe that's also how some of our listeners can see that. That's fabulous. Jenn, is there anything more that you'd love to say about that part, about that aspect of, you're so thrilled to be helping people take new things and learn new things, even developing understandings that weren't in their mainstream thought as we're aging and as we're growing and changing. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that first little section?
The one thing I'll add to that is something I have noticed working again with women as they go through a variety of changes of their lives is brain fog definitely happens. And I think something that can be really challenging for women who are not getting enough sleep because of hot flashes or whatever else is happening is the ability to focus on just one thing.
Absolutely.
And this is multifaceted. Not only is there sleep deprivation or other hormonal changes going on, but a lot of things are constantly grabbing at our attention. Mm-hmm. So something that I find really helpful for people who are experiencing this is helping them find what they can feel in the present moment, which can help focus the attention. So I'll spend a lot of time helping people feel what their anchor points are, how that supports them, and then using that again kind of as a building block to move on. And what I find interesting about that is people will take the lessons they learn during their sessions and they'll apply them outside the session. So it helps them, kind of in their daily lives, and they'll come back and they'll be moving better. I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I'm just thinking about, what you said about how I need to use the different parts of my foot, or how my hands can interact with different things in different ways. And it's just been really helpful. So that's the other little part I'll add to that.
I love that. So you're actually breaking down a cognitive executive functioning desire into small, palatable physical movements that bring about, like, hey, I associated this feeling with this movement. If I'm correct, is there a little bit of that there too?
There can definitely be a little bit of that there too. I mean,
Okay,
because,
cool.
people often have sensations that show like discomfort or pain or whatever, but you start to show people, well, look, if you, again, find your anchor points, find where you're supported. How does the ground support you? How does gravity support you? How does that change things? It can really impact their entire well-being, which is cool.
Love it. So I often refer to, because I'm a believer that the pelvis is our foundation, and that then things that move towards wherever we are focusing touch and kinesthetic awareness, moving through that external place of our skeletal system, musculoskeletal system, those are groundations, right? So it's kind of like that frequency that's coming through. And so we know that it's there, but it's not actually the real true foundation is deep within our core, right? Our pelvis. And there's that bidirectional relationship to the brain. That is just the coolest thing. I love it. So that you're really helping people comprehend that, you're focusing and not focusing is not just because of changes in the brain. It's also because of feelings that come up with that. And how then can you find a place to anchor it or to center it? I love that. I'll probably use the word center and you most likely use the word anchor. That is amazing. I'd love to share a little story with you, which I think would be really interesting for you. So I've been having a little bit of trouble with my left knee, and I'm not sure what the trouble is. And here I am as an athletic therapist, and I should know. So the first thing I did was find out what my big toe is doing. I just paid attention to how is my big toe working or not working when I feel that things I don't want to feel in my knee. How are my toes responding to that? And then I also tried to put my hand on my pelvis. So that's really neat. The reason I bring that up is because you help people become aware of things that they might not anchor into. And that's really neat. And lots of times when things present is what I'm reading from you as well in your pattern development for new learning, is that you don't necessarily need to go right to the very pinpointed concept of what it is. You need to kind of move around what that is to get towards where you would like to make change. I love that. I love that. So that's kind of some summary of what I'm getting from you. Awesome. Okay, Jen, I'm going to move along into kind of the second section of what it was that we really wanted to make sure that we covered with you here today in this beautiful interview. And I'm trying to be worthy of our time together as well. I would like to learn a little bit more about the strategies that you are teaching and utilizing with your clientele for them to have new learning occur in perimenopause and beyond. So we talked about recognizing patterns and establishing patterns in order how to get towards that. Now, what are some of the strategies that you kind of pull together in order for you to be the successful coach that so many of our listeners are going to want to attend and to listen to and to follow and to begin to work with you?
So I think one of the biggest things I really try to do with people is introduce a movement that is a little bit novel in some way. Because again, so often we think, for instance, a squat needs to look a certain way, right? When in reality, a squat can look so many ways and none of them are more right than the other.
Right.
So just even lifting one heel off the ground while you do a simple 2-footed squat, it's really interesting. You do this simple thing, and for the person experiencing it, they're like, oh my gosh, that feels so different.
Cool.
And for the person to be able to be aware that this somehow, again, has changed their experience of the squat, then they're like, well, what happens if I do it this way? And it begins to give back some of the autonomy to the client, which I think is so invaluable. Yes, I am here to provide constraints and parameters and give you options, but at the end of the day, movement should be something that is enjoyable. It is something that should be in some way, it should really create something within you that makes you want to do it again. Because I think, again, from a learning perspective, the way it's often been taught is that you have to do this many sets, this many times. This is what you need in order to be strong, in order to have your bone mineral density be a certain amount, whatever. But what if you don't like the standard exercise? Right. So, being able to say, okay, look, there are so many ways we can explore this. Let's find a way that works for you is something that I really strive to do.
I love that. So if I could sum that up very, very as quickly and briefly as I can, when I'm listening to you, it's like you're using strategies that curate simplicity into a pleasurable experience of a movement that we think we have to do, but we can make it done in our own way. So the strategy is to create a connection that's personal, a personalized connection, which I'm going to too bring back into this development. This development, first of all, of understanding new things is because you're doing and curating one component at a time. You're allowing people to not glorify this, doing too many things at once, this multifaceted approach. So you're allowing someone to see something in its simplicity, but then to make it their own, to be creative and curate it in their own. And how I'm going to look at something is going to be different from someone else. But you as an instructor and you as a leader in this movement, I'm sure that there's many of your clientele that further inspire each other, actually, like without them even knowing it. Like you see something in one person, you're like, oh my gosh, that works so well for them. I'm going to try it for this person because they actually kind of think a little bit of the same. And that's so lovely. And in all of this, I love that you're placing value on the personal empowerment. And that's why I said that a person is actually creating their viewpoint of the squat, like who'd have thunk just doing a little heel lift on one side of the foot might make someone really different and tactile cue into something that creates all these other new strategies. That's amazing. I love it. That's so good. So making movement patterns personal and allowing them to be felt that they're correct. Just because they're different doesn't mean they're wrong. Like they're their own thing. I love that. That is just absolutely incredible. I absolutely adore that. Okay. So let's get into our awesome third little viewpoint that I want to make sure we don't disconnect from in this I could talk to you for hours, by the way. I could talk to you for hours. No, we're going to have to.
I'm a total nerd with this stuff.
Me too. And I've got my nerdy glasses on to prove it. So now we got into the development, we got into the strategizing, and now I want to get into the how-to. So I'd love for you to give us a little bit of your insight, very kindly, Jenn, on how to use this growth and development within changes that are occurring.
So the biggest how-to is get curious.
Love that.
Get curious about yourself, get curious about what you're experiencing, get curious about what happens when you try something a little bit differently. Does it change your experience? Does it change your perception? And also notice what happens when you finish. You do this thing, you've done it a little bit differently, you're done with it. And then how does that make you feel directly after? How do you feel an hour later?
Right.
We're not the same. You and I are not the same people that we were when we started this interview. You're not the same person now that you will be in 10 minutes. We're such amazing organisms like that. And I wish everybody could take that perspective, because it gives you again, back to that empowerment thing, gives you so much power.
Right. Perfect. I love that. So I've just made this beautiful little note that you can just ignore, but I've made a beautiful little note in our chat about that. So I make sure that I can really get the listeners in on this period of time, because that personal response to that that's a very big question. A how-to question is huge, is amazing. And that's where most leaders even get stumped when they're asked the how-to part. So thank you for that. That was elegant and amazing and absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. So I am going to keep us flowing and growing and glowing in this very great time together. I have 3 questions for you, Jenn. I have 3 questions for you. It is time for the boom, 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 boom. 3 questions. 3 questions. I guess that's 6. So 3 questions. There we go. Awesome. So my very first question for you is, I would like to find out this from you. You have been so shiny in this wonderful interview. I would like to know, what in your work and your learning are you really, truly excited about?
I'm really, truly excited about a couple of things. I'm really, truly excited about the 2 books that I are
Nice.
simultaneously in the publishing process. It's very exciting. Always fun to kind of see things as they come through. And then the second thing I'm really excited about is I've been doing pole for the last 10 months, and it's so much fun. And I can translate things that I do, because I do a lot of low flow acrobatic stuff.
Nice.
I shouldn't say low flow acrobatic, but like a lot of low flow groundwork stuff. So I'm able to translate some of that onto pole. So that's just been super fun. So those are the things I'm excited about.
I love it. So I'm not very good at pole, but I have tried it. I kind of suck at it, but I have tried it. Maybe I'll just have to try it with you, because I will have simplistic development of my strategies towards my end up how and learning something new. I love that. I will do that. So you're also very excited about pole work. I love that.
Yes.
Love that. It is super fun. Awesome. Okay, my dear. Second question. Question
Yes.
number two. Here it is. Our second question today that I would like to ask you is this exactly here. What is one thing that you're grateful for? And how,
I'm so grateful.
how amazing. How amazing. Yesterday was Canada's Thanksgiving Day. Yes. So, and a lot of us have chosen to call it Happy Gratitude Day. So, I mean, I actually try to live in an attitude of gratitude every day. And I sense that that's very much yourself. I would love to know, before I interrupt you any further, I'll just be quiet. What is one thing that you're very grateful for?
I am so grateful for my health, for a healthy mind and a healthy body. Like that is
nice.
Something I practice my gratitude towards every day, because it's so important.
Nice. Mind and body. I love that you added that. So many people just think of like, oh, I'm happy that I'm not sick.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
How about that? You're happy that you're vital. Like, that's amazing. That's fantastic. So grateful for my health, mind and body. I love that, Jen. Thank you very much. That was a beautiful answer. Okay. Third question. Here we come. Third question is, what is one principle that you live by?
I live by the fact that you never know what somebody else is going through.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
So I always try to treat people with empathy and kindness, regardless of how they're treating me, because you never know.
I love that. Yeah. Empathy, kindness. That's where it's at. That's the new cool. Kindness to me is the highest intelligence. Kindness to me is the highest intelligence. I love that. Jenn Pilotti, you are amazing. Thank you for your time together with us today. So much. Please check out where you can check out Miss Jenn. And apparently you have 2 books in the making and 2 contributing concepts of work that you're going to, which is really neat. So you're going to let us know where you can get that. And there's a few things that Jenn is going to be supported with here. So we want you to make sure that you can get a hold of Jenn. You're going to be able to get a hold of Jenn with the information following this. And Jenn, round of applause, big, huge high fives all around. That was amazing. Thank you for your time together today. Do you have any questions for me, Jenn?
No, that was great. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so you're absolutely fabulous. You're a brand new movement friend. I can't wait to speak to you again. Thank you for this summit interview. And everybody, check out Jenn.
Thank you,
Thank you, Jenn.